Last year, I ran two 100-mile ultras. I DNF'd the first one, but I succeeded in the second one. Today, I'm going to go through some things that I wish I knew before that first 100. All the usual things like go out super slow, eat regularly, keep your calories up. The things I'm going to go through are more nuanced than that. And if I knew them before that first 100, maybe it would have changed my decision to drop out. Maybe. Let's get into it. For context, if you'd like to see the races, I'll drop them down in the description below. But briefly, in the first one, the one I dropped out, there were some things that were out of my control. But there were many things that, in hindsight, with more experience, I realized there were some things that were in my control, I just didn't have the experience to notice that. Being slightly older and wiser in my second attempt, I managed to cross the finish line, which was just the most amazing feeling ever. The first thing I wish I knew is what I'm going to call accepting or removing friction. What I mean by that is, when the race gets really hard, your brain is going to present all these amazing and logical and intelligent reasons why you need to quit. Those reasons are what I'm calling friction. You either need to accept those reasons or remove them, and preferably have removed them before the race. To explain further what I mean, I'm going to tell you two stories. One where I got it right and one where I got it wrong. The one where I got it wrong was the one where I dropped out, and the race was an A to B race. So logistically that made it quite hard. You finished 100 miles away from where you started. To help me with this, I was running with a friend, and his wife was being crew, hopping from aid station to aid station. My day wasn't going so well, so I started to slow down, and my friend eventually just got further and further ahead, to the point where he was further than an aid station ahead of me. My brain started to say, oh, his poor wife, she's here for him really, but she's feeling bad to help me out. I should just drop out because I'm being a burden to her. She would have been the first person to say, that's not true. She was there to help me, she was enjoying helping me. But my brain, when I had a whole load of other things going on, was thinking, no, I need to stop being a burden. This is another good reason for me to drop out. With the second race, I remembered that. I remembered that that was one of the many pieces of friction, and one of the things that encouraged me to drop out. On the second time round, I burnt my bridges. I got dropped off to the race. I knew that if it went to plan, I'd be finishing the following morning. So I said, come and pick me up tomorrow. There was no friction in the way. I had to keep going all through the night because really I had no other choice. It was my mum coming to pick me up. I didn't want to wake her up at 2 a.m. I had to keep going. I know that that really helped me. In the second race, which was a track 100 miler, a few people started to drop out around 1 or 2 a.m. and they were people who had driven themselves. Now, I can't be sure what's going on in their head at the time, but if it was me, I'd be thinking, oh, I should probably drive home now, because if I finish the race and then have a quick kip in the car before driving home, that's going to be dangerous. If I drive home now, I'll get home, I can go to bed, and then I'll feel safe and can start my recovery tomorrow. Like I say, I can't be sure of what was going through people's heads when they were dropping out at 1 and 2 in the morning, but it might have been something along those lines that tipped them over the edge. And of course, I'm just talking about travel plans here, but you could apply this principle of friction and either accepting it or removing it in every element and each piece of the logistical challenge of finishing the race. The next thing that I learned is that the race doesn't owe you anything. It's common knowledge that in ultramarathons you go through waves of feeling good, feeling bad, feeling bliss, feeling utter depression, and like everything's a catastrophe. Normally, during the day at least for me, my waves come in 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and you'll feel good, you'll feel bad, you'll feel good. During the night in this second ultra that I succeeded in, I had this consistent down for hours. It ended up being 4 or 5 hours of just getting worse and worse and worse. What my brain was telling me in that moment was, this has to be my limit. All of those other waves of feeling bad, they were just an illusion. But this one has been going on for hours. This is definitely my limit. I have to drop out now. And I nearly dropped out at 90 miles because, even though that sounds ridiculous to say, only 10 miles to the finish, at the time I'd been on such a progressive down. 10 miles felt a really long way. It felt like I couldn't do it, and it felt like this wasn't coming back up again. This was the truth. This was my limit. 90 miles done, and even if I continue the pace I'm going at, I'm not going to finish. So I've decided to go and spend some time with the kids and get off this track. 90 miles is a good day in the office. didn't have the 100 in me, but I think I'm pleased I did this. Not sure. We'll find out. And then of course the sun came up. I started to get hungry. I ate some food. The sunlight was amazing and we had the most beautiful sunrise, and I started to feel pretty good. I wasn't moving fast, but I felt good. So my lesson here is the race doesn't owe you anything. Just because some of your down waves are half an hour or 60 minutes doesn't mean they're all going to be. What I learned this time was this one was 4 or 5 hours, and in future races I will be content to accept a down of 4 or 6 or 8 or 12 hours as long as I can keep moving forwards. That's what I need to pay attention to. It wasn't how bad I was feeling, and it wasn't how long I'd been feeling bad. I could actually keep moving forwards, and that's all that mattered. If I could keep moving forwards, I should keep moving forwards. The third one is a strange one. I've never heard anyone say this, and if anything, that makes me feel like I really should say this. The bit of me that hurt the most was my abs, my lower abs, and my hip flexors and my groin. Just lifting my feet 100,000 times, and 150 or 60,000 times, I think that's how many steps I did in the end. My abs and my adductors and that band around the pelvis and the pubis, that was really sore. I wish my abs were stronger. In hindsight, I wish I was doing more L-sits and hanging leg raises and parallel work, and really trying to get my lower abs, my hip flexors and my upper adductors stronger. To compound this theory, when I was running just in front of 2 chaps who were talking away, as you do in long distance running, and these 2 chaps happened to be in their 50s, and both of them had developed a hernia during a 100-mile race. Now, there weren't many people in this race, so to have 2 people who had developed hernias in 100-mile runs, that tells me that the probability of this must be pretty high. And then also for me to, while they were saying that, to have been feeling my abs to be pretty sore. I think we really need to have strong abs going into these long distance races. My goal with all this running stuff is that I want to get to 100-mile mountain races. And if my abs were that sore in a 100-mile track race, they would have been way sorer having to lift my legs uphill and then stabilize the downhills. If I want to avoid things like back pain, hip injuries, back injuries, and potentially hernias, I really need to keep those lower abs stronger. So this is going to be a real focus for me in my training going forwards. Now, I need to express some heartfelt thanks to 3 super thanks who gifted me in my last video. It really makes my day when notifications like that come in. I couldn't believe it, and I just want to say a big thank you. If you're interested in the 200 milers I did last year, I'll link them here and here. And until next time, happy training.